Hello there, welcome back to my channel. It is kind of early to mid-July at this point, and I thought that given that half the year has passed, it would be kind of a good idea to basically do a half-year flip through of all my dated planners, just see how things have come, and also at the same time start talking about what planners I plan to use for 2024. So I know it's a little bit early, but I've already started thinking about it, partly because half the year has passed and certain companies are already starting to sneak their 2024 planners and whatnot. So I have been thinking about it, but anyway, that is for the late half of this video. To start with, I'm going to do a quick flip through of my 3 different dated planners. So you may have seen some of them before. In fact, if you've followed this channel for a while, you may have seen all of them before. So I started with this. This is my Hobonichi Day 3 in the A6, which is my bullet journal. This is what I started the year with. And then I added on the Hobonichi weeks when the spring weeks came out. So this is the April to June. This will probably be the shortest flip through. And then I also have the Hobonichi Tekko 5-year, which is my memory keeping Chronicles of My 30s kind of journal that I started this year. So I'm going to save this one for last because actually, you know what, let's start with this one because it doesn't interlink as much. So this came with this cover and I usually use them together. Rather this is a bag, but yeah, they came together and I usually use them together. So I'm just going to do a really quick flip through of this. There's really no need for me to go into too much detail for this one because as you can kind of see, a lot of them are just words. It is really just me writing a couple of sentences a day. So I have the highs and the lows of each day basically, and it's just a couple of sentences. I have them color coded, so every month I pick 2 colors, 2 ink colors, fountain pen ink colors, and one I used to write the high and the low, and the rest I used to fill in the text. So it is really straightforward. And then on the right hand side, I kind of leave it blank. This was sometimes I do write things here, so this was a funny conversation I had with a taxi driver, or at least I thought it was a funny conversation at times, so I kind of wanted to record that. And then other times it's just blank. So one of the things that I'm planning to do in the coming next half of year, and for the other 4.5 years in this journal, would be to to get a photo printer so that I can actually put some images in here, so it isn't just all 100% text. I could actually think about putting drawings and paintings in here just to practice my art stuff, but because this is Tomoe River 52 GSM paper, so it's quite thin, and I'm using fountain pen ink, which is essentially water based, so I'm a bit afraid that if I paint on this, it will kind of buckle and affect the other side, and text will get a bit wonky. So I am not very keen on that. So a photo printer is something that I'm looking into, that I might purchase in the coming weeks, so that, and then maybe retroactively go back and add some pictures to this to this journal basically. Right, so so that was January, and then in February I switched to, I think this was Smoky Quartz by Pelikan Edison. So this was a brownish kind of month. I think for this one I was matching it to the monthly kits for the TCMC kits, but I don't really use the stickers in here, so I don't know why I bothered with that. Anyway, so yeah, still the right hand side is quite random. So this was books that I put in storage, we moved in February, so I had a lot of things that was on my mind, so things that I saw at IKEA that I might have wanted to buy that I didn't end up buying. Actually, the only thing I ended up buying was the this rainbow rug here that became my front door. There was one with a black cat, but which my husband really liked, until he realized that essentially we'll be stepping on Salem's face every time we entered and left the house, and he was like, you know what, no. Yeah, so you can kind of see that at some point I switched nib widths. So this was, I think, a fine, and then after a while I went to old. because I do like thicker nibs better. So I'm going to flip through this really fast because honestly there are just a few sentences here and there and there's nothing really much to be said about them. Nothing that interesting as well. A lot of moving, a lot of handover stuff because we rented out a place and then we're renting another place, so it was really busy in February. Then I brought my mom out for lunch. So this is kind of why I want a photo printer as well, because this is February 29th and it's literally one day in that 5 years, and if I only wrote 2 sentences here, this would be a very, very sad page, which I could use for something else, but I also think that it would be nice to have photos to kind of take up the space of it. So March, I think I used this looks like Sabi Minori to me. That's a lovely ink by Tasha. It's a Taccia. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, but yeah, Sabi Midori is lovely. I'm not sure the camera will pick this up, but it has a really nice red sheen to it. And this is with a fine nib and the sheen shows up really well, so it's kind of amazing. The green, I believe, is Kyo no Oto's what's that called? Kyo no Oto's Urahai Iro. Yeah, so that's another one that is pretty nice, but that works better with thicker nibs. So as you can see, like I just stuck to really words, and the best part about this is because it's just words, it's very, very easy to catch up again. I can fall off the bandwagon for like 10 days and just come back and fill it in. So that's actually what I did for actually quite a number of times in this journal, but I'm still on top of it, so to speak. So it's actually doing pretty well. Most of the time with dated journals, it doesn't last that long because I simply fall off the bandwagon and just can't get back into it. But this so far has worked pretty well, even though I've fallen off a time or 2 or 3. I think I'm on my 3rd fall off right now because I was away and I didn't want to bring this with me. But anyway, so I think in April I got my emojis, so I started using them in here, so it started being really cute. I used this Yay Money emoji because I won quite a lot of money at Mahjong that day. And then I got my, what's this? This is the Wonder Pants collab washi that Wonder Pants in Canada was very nice about figuring out shipping and all for me to Singapore, so I managed to get them. Let's see what else is there. So I generally use this site for like random things that need a little bit more, but otherwise it stays blank. So I do want to change that with like photos and stuff, because there are things where there are things that I want to put here, like for example, I went to a really nice place, I had really nice food or something, and I want to have a photo of it. So yeah, photo printer is definitely in my future. Or for example, like things that are a bit hard to draw, like my black cats, though that's something I am working on. Like when I had cat cuddles, for example, I may want to put a picture there because Luna is adorable, and that's her right there. I think she knows I'm talking about her, so she's cute until she starts yelling. Yeah, so this was April. Then in May was one of the months that I really fell off the bandwagon because I started taking Chinese medicine here and it kind of messed with me a lot. So I actually fell off the bandwagon for I feel like almost a month, and I had to go back and fill all this in. So I went back to fill all this in later on with all the emojis and the text and everything, and as you can see, I'm still on top of it. So really, if anybody is like afraid of a 5-year because of the commitment, I think it's actually okay, because getting back into it is not that hard, especially like in my case, because I have planners where I write down what I'm doing each day, and all these serve as like an easy trigger for me to remember like what was happening and also like the highs and lows of that day. So this was me, and yeah, this was where I fell off the bandwagon, and I can tell because it was, yeah, it's not really, it's just kind of obvious because some of the lines are pretty short, but it's okay. I mean, as long as like I'm still on top of it, I'm cool with it. So this was May, and it's really quite boring in May. And then we find ourselves in June, and June was when I started smudging ink all over the place. So this is Sailor 280. It turns out differently on different types of paper, so that's fun. But yeah, it is a very nice ink, and I do like this one. This, I think I was still catching up here a bit, and then I started, and then I was busy and stuff like that. So I went to get I brought my mom for a haircut, so I wrote a little thing here to like memorialize it, because the woman had not had short hair since she was like in single digits. I've basically never seen my mom with short hair, so that deserves its own spot. And honestly, I feel like I should print a picture of it to put it in here. And then yeah, so this here I wrote pachinko, and that's because that's another thought I had for the right hand side. I was thinking that I could use this to also put down book reviews, show reviews, restaurant reviews, recipe reviews, whatever that is. Like for example, I read Pachinko on the 8th of June. I basically bulldozed through it in a day because that's how I read. And I thought it would be nice to do like a little review kind of thing here. The only thing is that I ordered these those rating sticker emojis from TCMC, and they're still not here yet because I ordered them with the June pre-order sale to save on shipping, so they won't be here until September. So I had to come back and do this separately later on, but I'm okay with it. And hopefully by then I will have my my photo printer, so I can print a little like picture of the book cover and stick it into the emoji sticker as well. Anyway, moving on. So this was June, and it was a pretty busy month because I was just like trying to clear stuff in order to work was busy, and I was trying to clear stuff so that I could go to Bali with without too much stress. And then there was this big splotch here where I dripped a really big splotch of ink, so that was funny. I have no idea what this is going to look like in 5 years, and I'm kind of curious because I'm pretty sure I'm not going to use the same ink every month just because I don't want to. And then let's see, yeah, so I use emojis here and there to mark energy, activities, stuff like that. And yeah, so I left for Bali on the 29th, and basically because I didn't bring this with me, I actually ended up filling this out retroactively, and that brings us to the end of the end of June. So this is one thing that I'm definitely keeping for the next year. The only thing that would change would probably be what I do on the right hand side pages, which I've kind of like blatted on a bit about. So I definitely have ideas on how to fill it up, and I will probably do another flip through either at the end of Q3 or maybe at the end of the year. We'll see. Right, so that brings me to the end of this one. Now this is more of a memory keeping journal, so I'm going to put this aside now and talk more about the actual planner journals. So I'm going to start with the one that I started the year with because that makes the most sense to me, and then also how having this has kind of changed. You kind of see how having this has kind of changed how I use this. Right, so this is the day free. The day free has a yearly section, or what I call it yearly section, which I use for for habit tracking and stuff like that. So I used it all the way up till about mid-May, and then I kind of fell off the bandwagon here, as you can see, and we are now in July, and I essentially did not use this at all in June. And you'll see why where I moved this to in the end, because essentially I found that I was right all those years ago that having a monthly tracker thing at the start of a journal just does not work for me. Then in the monthly section, what I used to use this for was for appointments. So I use this for appointments a lot, and also for like marking various events. So that when I made my first TCMC order, I put this down. When I went for yoga, I had this. When I got some washi tape, so I had various, for our 10th anniversary, I put this here. We went for really good sushi, I have this. So I did use this to mark important stuff as well as my appointments. And then the side here I put incoming parcels. But in recent months I have realized that I don't really use this as much. So this is June, and honestly, a lot of things changed in here, and I did not update this one at all. I set this up at the start of the month, I think, and I did not update things that change in here at all. I'm pretty sure that these appointments here changed at the very least, and did not bother to change them because they were in here as well, so it was kind of a duplicate. So it's something that I'm definitely thinking about for next year. How does this impact? But as you can see for July, I know I shouldn't flip to July, but I don't have any appointments in here at all. I just have my incoming mail, of which a lot are here. So this is something for me to keep in mind as I do next year's do my decision making for next year's planner and all that. So which brings me to the day, what I'll call the daily section. The day 3 doesn't really have a daily section, it just has grid pages. So this is the start of it. I do have some in the back from December where I was testing this out, but I'm just not going to go there since this is a half year flip through. So this was my cover page, which I still think is really cute. And then I did like a Q1 goal setting thing that kind of got derailed because of all the moving. So that was a lot of stuff. I was supposed to do all these things, and then like we moved, and basically a lot of this just got pushed aside. So we'll see about that. So January. So as I flip through, you'll probably see my monthly spreads, and essentially every month I do this sleep time tracker thing where I have my sleep here, and then I have my appointments and whatnot here, and then over on the side after that I basically do what I consider classic bullet journal. So these are just my to-do lists by day and whatnot. And then I also have, so I was down with COVID at this point, and I used this a lot just for maintaining my sanity and while being cooped up in a room. And then I had to-do lists in here for things that I wanted to do after I got out of quarantine. And I do some of this here where I was calculating how much fabric I need to make a double circle skirt. That's so hard to say. Yeah, so there's a lot of, I do have random little things inside here where I need to remember them, and then I have a bunch of like digital cleanup to-dos that I really need to follow up on, so I put a little tab here when I was flipping through this journal to kind of, to kind of like make sure it's okay for like filming. I did add a couple of tabs, things that I wanted to follow up on later. So that brings us to February. And in February we had the move, so that kind of like, I kind of just wrote this here because it was easier than trying to mark out what time we did what. And because essentially that 4 or 5 days was essentially all moving, and like did not have the brain juice to do anything else, so no point doing anything about that. And yeah, then I had a short list of stuff I wanted to order from TCMC. I have the fountain pen set in. So these are random notes that I make at the side that are important at the point in time. But yeah, I mean, this is the flexibility to me of having a completely blank page, because I can lay it out however I see fit, and I'm not tied to a page a day. So I definitely want to keep this, so I can have the flexibility like here where I have one day here, one day here. And because I was very stressed, I was doing a lot of window shopping, or rather I was tempted to buy a lot of things, so I made a list here of things that I was interested in plus the price. And honestly, most of the stuff I have not bought, they were just stress shopping, right? So I have a lot of random things at the side. And then after we moved, I had things that are homeless, that how I wanted to lay out our storage, things I needed to buy to make the house make sense again. And then I also moved the list over to the next page, because I didn't want to keep having to flip. So that was June. June was a lot of that was February, not June, and that was a lot of moving stuff. Then that brings me to March, and March was very work heavy because we had Boutique Fest, and that was lovely. Alright, so if you see a lot of this little posted things here, they're essentially work stuff that I'm not comfortable showing on camera, so I kind of just stuck a post-it over so that it's censored. Yeah, so but anyway, we had an order that we needed to fulfill, and was really complicated, or rather it was a very big order, so I needed kind of like to have all the details somewhere to reference instead of constantly opening up my tablet so I just wrote it down here. And then this was my TCMC anniversary shopping list, and I also made a bigger list here with all the random information that because the list basically kind of exploded after a while. Yeah, and let's see. Yeah, so that was March, and in March I also did a list of commute to-dos. So because we moved from a pretty central location to a pretty out of the way location, right now we're staying like super near the coast and the airport, so it's not fantastic for me. My commute has effectively doubled. So what I did was that I created a list of things that I would like to do on the train on the way to work, because that actually gives me something to do instead of sleeping and mindlessly scrolling through social media. So I did things like update my update my closet app, shopping for things in the house. Thankfully we have really good connectivity on the train, so I can do things like shop on Taobao and Shopee and whatnot. And then also writing portfolio copy for my portfolio update, which I finally got around to finishing in I think April or March, I can't remember. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for March actually. And then I got my washi, so I was very excited about that, put that in here. And that brings us to April. So April was okay. April was busy, like all time. So a lot of all these are just work. And April was when I started filming again. So if you watch my previous videos, you might have seen this one where I did my where I did my craft room setup kind of thing. So this was how I laid it out a bit, and then like categories of stuff that needed to find a home. And then so it was just a lot of list upon list upon list. Then in May it was I guess more work as usual, right? I updated my style book again because I got some jewelry because I went to Public Garden, so I wanted to update that. And so this was a very busy day. This was I think supposed to be Mother's Day, so we had a lot of demands on our time. So this was actually the week that I was trying to film the first go round of doing a week in my everyday carries, and I actually did this, but I don't know if the camera is picking up on this. There's a lot of correction tape going on here that honestly kind of annoys me. So but effectively this I kind of like got sidetracked and didn't end up putting that video together, and this day was one big fat mess. So at the end of it, I do like this time blocking thing. I just feel that I need the time blocking and the to-do list, like two separate things. So that's another point of consideration for me for 2024. I know, why am I even thinking about 2024? We're only halfway through 2023, right? So as you can see, I also started, since this is April, May, I started using more of my stickers more liberally, because why else am I using them? Or why else am I buying them, right? And then I had like all these little faces and stuff about how I felt, and that brings us to June. So June was quite busy, except for I guess 29th and 30th when I was in Bali. So before that it was quite busy, quite a lot of things going on. Oops, we had another big order here, so that's what this is. More work stuff here. Honestly, there was a lot of work stuff going on in here that was basically taking up my time, and I did use like stickers to cutify it, and then with notes at the side as well. And then this is the funny part, I made I think if you had seen my I don't know if this made it into my week with my a week in my everyday carries, but I made this list here for my Bali trip, and I ended up not using it at all. So this page is now effectively blank, and it's kind of like a waste. But I think what I will do is that I'll go back and fill this out with the things that I brought for the trip, or rather the things that I brought / wish I had brought, and so that I can reference it in the future. Right, and that brings us up to June. Yep, so I only got up to 27 because 28 was so busy that I essentially just was like bulldozing through the day that I didn't use this at all. And then the next page would be July already. Right, so that brings me up to June for this particular journal. Now for the last one, my weeks. So the weeks is the shortest flip through probably because it's a spring weeks. So the spring weeks essentially starts in April officially. I mean, unofficially it starts in March, but officially it starts in April. And so I started with a trial run in March, and then I officially started this in April. So there's only about 3 weeks to off flip through here. So starting from the top, there is the yearly section here, which I have not used. Not sure if I'll ever use. Not sure how to use this. It's still blank. Then there is the monthly section, which I really love because I got the kits from TCMC and I basically adore how it looks. So I'm just going to flip real quick to the next 2 months before I come back. Right, so it does start a bit plain, and as you can see, as the months go by, I have been being more liberal with the stickers and whatnot in the decoration. But generally I start the month quite plain and then I add on from there. So this is where a lot of my appointments live. Videos that I want to put up also live here, and things of note like our anniversary, like deliveries that I'm excited about, the fact that Mercury was in retrograde, stuff like that is all in here. Then I have like a bunch of things that I want to focus on for the month, like goals and stuff that are also here. I haven't figured out what this is for besides the decoration, but it's cute nonetheless. So that is April, and then in May kind of looks a bit lopsided to me because of how it starts on like a Monday. But in any case, there was a lunar eclipse, Mercury in retrograde ended at some point here. Yeah, and then we had I did quite a fair bit of sewing here, like this week. And yeah, so I tend to use stickers when I made a mistake, a boo-boo, and I want to cover it up, or like for contrast, like the big ones anyway. And then there were birthdays and whatnot, so this was May. And then in June was Prime Month, so of course I had to put it down. It is not as colourful as Prime Month should be somehow to my mind. Like I feel like there should be a bit more blue or a bit more purple, but it's okay, it's fine. So I went a bit crazy on the stickers in this month, but honestly this is the nicest monthly I feel. So I put down things like launches that I was really excited about, and then what else that was here. So I used a bit of washi to fill in the space as well, and then like deliveries, therapy, going on vacation, stuff like that. So this is generally my monthlies are for me to reference my appointments, and also like for any like highlights that happen that I kind of want to immortalize, so to speak, here. So that is the monthlies for the first half of the year, or the first half of the year in this book, because I don't have January to March. Then that brings me to April in the weekly section. So for the weekly section, if you have seen previous videos, I started out by putting the appointments here, and then I had this side here for all the tasks and like date specific tasks and whatnot, and then I would track my meals here, and then I would just use this area for random stuff. So I had important work targets for the week, I had an IKEA shopping list, I had a Taobao shopping list, I also had name ideas for a collection of nudes that we ended up launching in, I think we launched it in the start of at the start of June. So quite a number of these actually made it. I needed like 10 parts, so it was really a nightmare. But my favorite is the like diamond and the buff. That's my favorite name and my favorite color. So anyway, so this was the layout that I went with for initially with this planner, and I kind of continued it for quite some time. So I had random ideas here for work stuff, like party drinks, like themes, basically party drinks, local drinks. I had questions for my dentist, and then I also had I also had ideas like for another theme, like what if we did something along the lines of like a solar system theme maybe. and then work stuff here again. So there's quite a lot of work stuff in here that's just covered up. And then I think I started doing videos around here. So like I had the planner stack idea, so like what was in the planner stack, right? And then other video ideas, and also like weekly targets. So I was just kind of settling into how I want to use this space, and starting to use a bit more stickers as well. Then in May, so this little Skittles thing, so I also started trying to cut back on my peach tea addiction in May before I was forced to go to cold turkey. So I started tracking, because I was drinking a lot of tea and I wasn't supposed to have that much tea, I think. So I started tracking how much I was drinking with this Raw Market Shop stamp. I think supposedly for some sort of soft drink, but I just used it for my peach tea addiction. And a few weeks ago I decided that I wanted to do Skittle nails for the Eras tour, even though I didn't manage to get tickets. I'm hoping we can get tickets for the Japan one, but that's kind of up in the air at the moment. If I don't get it, it's fine, but I still do want to do nails. So I made a little note here of like each album and the different colors, and well, I haven't decided what color goes with what color yet, like what official, like which polish goes with which color. But yeah, so this is my rough idea-ish thing. Then so I started taking traditional Chinese medicine in early May. So that was when I switched things up here a bit. So I started taking health notes on the side. So it's quite TMI, but I'm fine with it. Just don't read too closely, you know what I mean? So it's just things like whether I feel bloated, bowel movements, all that sort of things that I need to refer when I go see the doctor. So I can't keep track of these things like for 2 to 3 weeks at a row, like keep it straight on my head. So I basically wrote it down here. Then I basically merged my appointments and to-dos into one column, and my meals remain the same. And then on this side is still more or less the same. So I have my priorities and then various other things. And so this week was a lot of sewing. This is the week that I was sewing the Grace dress by Marsha Style. So that took up a lot of my time, and basically I didn't do anything worth noting here at all. Yeah, so that was that. And then this week was a lot of work stuff. So as you can see, a lot of covered up. Likewise here, work stuff covered up. And the other thing about this week was it was a study day kind of thing. So we attended a wedding, and then we had I basically spent like the entire long weekend studying, because I had a Japanese test, the last test for elementary level on Monday, so I was kind of busy with that. And then that was also the same week that I, after a really long time, got my period, and it was horrible. So that was quite a lot of stuff going on. So speaking of this particular week, I also introduced a tracker over here at this point. This is like the start of June, and that was also when, so you can kind of see that I fell off the bandwagon of tracking in like, I would say mid-May, but I only got back into it in like early-ish June, where I started doing this to kind of start tracking stuff again. So I put this here as a trial run to see how much I'd like it, because I did feel like I wanted to remind myself to take my medication every day. And then I felt like it was pretty good, so I moved it up here where it was very visible. And then I split my priorities into work, weekly and work, as in like personal and then work. And then so that has been my list since my setup since June basically, and I quite like it. So I really need an entire roll of this tape. I don't know when I'm going to get it, but I really want one. So so this was just before I left for Bali, and then this was the week I left for Bali. And essentially you can see that a lot of I kind of tried to keep my work stuff and all above this line before I left for my trip. And then I did bring this journal with me on my trip. So I had my because I couldn't have my sleep tracker with me, because in the other book I did write down my sleep times here, I kept up with all the other stuff that I need to keep track of as well. So that is about it for this particular journal. I do want to show you the back of it as well. So give me a moment. This is the notes section at the back of any Hobonichi Weeks, and I use it for a variety of things, basically collections and things that I want to refer to throughout the year, I guess. So this is a bunch of sewing projects that I'm working on. This page beneath my pencil board is work stuff that I'm lazy to cover up. So yeah, so these are sewing projects that I'm working on, and then after that I have my tea tracker and my chocolate tracker. It's not really a tracker, it's more of a ratings thing. So basically when I have tea, I have coffee, I try it and then I rate it and see how much I want to buy it again. Basically, it's also kind of to force me to drink all the tea and coffee tea and chocolate that I have. Unfortunately, I'm currently not allowed to drink tea, so well, this tracker is going to be sitting here for a while until I'm allowed to drink tea again. But the chocolate one, though, I am allowed to eat chocolate, and I am having some cravings recently, so I'm slowly going to fill this out and we'll see how it goes. And then besides that, I don't really have that many collections in here, but I also have one for my closet, so I can do a more extensive video on this. In fact, I kind of want to, but I'm still trying to figure out the logistics of it, because it does involve things that are on my phone, and then I'm not sure how to film things that are on my phone when I'm using my phone to film, so that's a work in progress. But anyway, I have things that are basically it's the things that come into my closet and things that go out of my closet, as well as a quarterly take on like a stock take kind of thing, where I essentially count how many items I have, and then how much do I wear, how much do I not wear anymore, how much has never been worn, and so on and so forth. So that's the really cut and dried version of it. So this is my weeks. So in terms of things for 2024, obviously this fella over here, my 5 years here to stay. Like I'm stuck with this bugger for the next 5 years, 4.5 years. So that goes without saying. With regard to my everyday carry though, I have been thinking really, really hard. So I had a few thoughts, but I definitely want to keep the weeks. It has been really good for me. I also really like how cute the kids are, so that is definitely something I want to keep in the coming year. The only thing about this specific thing would be that I'm not sure whether I want to buy a spring weeks again, where I'll start in April, or if I want to buy a January start, like your normal calendar start, because that will mean that I have 3 months here left unused. So I'm kind of on the fence on that. I haven't quite decided. I will probably decide. Honestly, my budget in September will probably decide it for me, and also likely if there's any nice A6 covers in September. So if there's a really nice A6 cover in September, I might just cave and get that for my A6, and then get the weeks at the same time, so that I don't have to pay double shipping. So that's a thought. But like I said, it's just a thought. I haven't quite decided yet. In terms of my everyday carry, I don't think I will be getting a day free again, because as you can tell from my flip through, like the weekly and monthly sections are effectively quite useless to me right now. I don't really use them. So initially I had thought to just get a normal like A6 grid notebook sort of situation, or dot grid notebook, and just use like a cover. I mean, I can reuse this cover. I do like the size of the A6, so that was my thought then. But so Sterling Ink has their common planner, and I'm very interested in that, because they do have a section of vertical pages. So they have vertical weekly pages, something like, so essentially it's something very much like what Hobonichi does in their cousin, where, so this is the 2021 one, the last time I tried to use a cousin and failed. But anyway, they do have a section that is similar to this, where they have like vertical vertical weeklies in an A6 format. So I'm very interested in that because of this. So I actually really like doing things like this once in a while, where I can time block, like, you know, where I'm going to be at certain times and what I plan to do at that time. So I do find time blocking useful. It's just that I don't want to do it in this journal, in part due to space constraints, in part due to the fact that I have to do that plus a to-do list side by side, and just doesn't really work out in my brain somehow. So I feel like if I had this in front, which they do have, so they have this and then they have grid pages in the back. So if I had this for time blocking and then I had the space at the back, and their space at the back is basically not a page a day, but they're just blank grid pages, just like this. So if I had that at the back for like my regular to-do list kind of stuff, I have a feeling that will work out really nicely, and I can overlook the fact that like the monthly pages are going to be useless if it has like the weekly verticals that, fingers crossed, will work out really well. So I actually placed an order for the A6 Common Planner in with the full year, so that they have a lot of pages in the back, and we will see how that goes. So I got that for 2024, and fingers crossed that will work out. If it doesn't work out, or if I change my mind along the way, I guess hopefully I can sell it off to someone locally. If not, well, we'll see how things go. So that is roughly my plan for 2024 right now. I am not sure if I will change my mind, but if I do, well, I guess you'll be the first to find out, because I will probably rant about it on this channel. Yeah, so that is my plan for 2024 as of now. I really don't see myself sticking with going with a Hobonichi, simply because the Hobonichi A6 and A5 both have these dated daily pages, and I just find them too hard to leave blank and too hard to come back to if I leave them blank. So that's what happened the last time, so that's why a lot of this ended up being, this is essentially I want to sketch random things, so I'm going to use it kind of notebook now. But it has nice paper, so I do use it when I, you know, and grids, so I do use this when I need to doodle something. But yeah, so anyway, so that's my plan for 2024. I will get one of these, whether it is the spring or the January start, so not sure if April or January start yet. And then I have the Common Planner on the way, probably in October, November it will be here. So there is that. So that's the plan for next year, hopefully. So that kind of wraps up my 2023 planners flip through kind of thing for the first half of the year anyway. I hope you found it interesting, and I don't know, maybe it gave you some ideas of your own on how you can organize your own planners for the upcoming next half of the year or something, I suppose. And I guess I'll see you for the next video, where I'm not sure what I'll do yet. Maybe I'll do something on my ink journal, or maybe it will be just a general journaling kind of thing. So yeah, I'll catch you next time, and I hope you have a great week ahead. Bye!